What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Reil Talks podcast. My name is Mike Singletary.
And I am Frank Chen, and we are going to be your hosts. And what we're going to do is break down what it takes to live life on your terms through entrepreneurship, specifically real estate investing.
So we're going to hit it hard, the good, the bad, and the real, because that climb, as any entrepreneur knows, is never smooth. So let's get real. Paul Lizell is a good friend of mine. He's somebody that every time we seem to, go to a gathering or something like that, him and I always find a way to hunker down and have some conversations because we have a lot of things in common, right? He's my type of guy. He's a family man, big time family man, loves sports, he's a Philly guy. I'm a Houston guy. So we had some fun with yeah, but his football team is a lot better than my football team, obviously, right? But and your Sixers are killing it right now.
Wow. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just gonna kind of run through a couple of things of his accomplishments. So I'm just gonna say this real quick. So Paul is a founder of JP Homes and House Deals of America. He's been a successful real estate investor since the late 1990s. So definitely an OG. Bought and sold hundreds of homes nationwide, and has purchased properties in 44 out of the 50 states since 2001, which is unbelievably impressive. Is that accurate still, or is there?
It is. No, I haven't bought, and there's 6 states that I might buy in 2 more of them.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll walk through that, man, for sure. He's the founder of REO auctionacademy.com, where he teaches others how to buy from online auctions, bank REOs, and off the MLS. He's also the founder of Crypto Deegan, DAO LLC, and where he educates people on cryptocurrency, NFTs, staking in the future of money. Is there anything that I missed on that, brother?
You hammered it.
All right, awesome, man. I mean, like I said, man, I'm so I'm really excited to chop it up with you because we both, quite honestly, I'm gonna kind of backtrack a little bit. So Paul was the guy that really inspired me to go virtual. I don't know how many years ago that was, 4 or 5. And we were in mastermind together. And I remember very, very clearly during his presentation at that time, he didn't know who I was. I was brand new. I was in the back of the room where I usually am. And he was doing a presentation on his business model. And he has been virtual investing for a long time. But more importantly, it's his lifestyle and how he manages it. And so that for me was the biggest pivot on going virtual rather than bell to bell. And you've been doing it for a very long time at a very high level. I think the biggest difference is that I am direct to market. You're obviously straight, auction and stuff like that. This part of it is it's called the humble brag, but you really could talk about anything, man. Tell us a little about yourself and things that you have accomplished in your career that the audience would, obviously the audience is going to love. So just talk about yourself a little bit, brother.
So I think the thing I'm most proud of, the thing I'm happiest about that I did, because it took guts to do it, right? Going out of the market. When we first started in this business, you're in your market, you understand your market totally, right? You want to know it inside and out. To go into another market, another state, say when I went from Pennsylvania to New Jersey wasn't a huge deal because I'm close to the border of New Jersey. I could see properties there. Yeah. When I went to Ohio, though, that's 6+ hours away. So I decided I'm not going to go visit these properties. I'm going to try to do these things virtually. This is in 2009 when I started to go virtual. And I decided I'm just going to go take a look at these different properties and based off realtor assessments. I had some good bank REO agents at the time because remember that REOs were at their peak between 2009 and 2013. So I made some really good relationships with these people. They helped guide me, and they were probably the biggest godsend I ever had because these were experienced agents that knew the market inside out. If they told me a property would be able to sell for $17,000 to $21,000, it almost always sold between that $17,000 and $21,000. That's how locked in they were. They understood the market and what the investors would pay for it. So when I first started doing the virtual wholesale, I really leaned on them. Their pictures, them walking the property. And then I just started going out, the Carolinas, Virginia, Florida, Texas, California. I've gone as far as very rural Alaska, have not done Hawaii. Yeah, very rural. It was an Eskimo city. There was only 30,000 population in there and actually sold. It was a combination of Eskimos and veterans. ex-military people there.
Dude, you're closing everything. You're not wholesaling,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So we have, unfortunately, with the bank code stuff, you have to close it. So if I'm going to, with typical direct to seller, you could do assignment of contract. Here, I got to buy it and close it. If I have a buyer, I could do a simultaneous close or back-to-back closing and do it the same day, which is ultimately what I love to do. But it's hard to get that, So usually what I'm doing, especially the past 5 years, I pivoted. Instead of going direct to investor, I realized that if I threw my stuff on the MLS, I was getting more money. So I started listing more things on the MLS and going that route. And then the harder to sell ones, I would still try to go direct to investor, because throwing some of them on the MLS that are train wreck are hard to move.
Yeah, well, that took a lot of balls. So, because I know that we've expanded out, and that was definitely difficult. But back then, you didn't have the resources that you have right now, right? I mean,
Zillow, right? Zillow was limited. It didn't have the comping capability it had now. I relied a little bit on Realty Track and Adam. Adam was around back at that time. But it was really limited to finding a good agent, and the agent giving me good information, and then maybe verifying it with another agent if it wasn't a bank REO realtor I was dealing with.
That's so ironic, because we've pivoted to the land space. So we're 100% land right now. And that we're using that same model where we're really relying a lot on the agents, right? Yeah. On the bank side of it, are you able to walk the properties before you buy it? Are the agents able to walk it, or you're just doing a blind assessment?
Some yes, some no. So the ones that you can't are called the HUD CWCOTs. And basically that's an FHA or VA foreclosure that's sold occupied or vacant. And whether it's occupied or vacant, they don't give you internal access. Now there are ways around it. we have workarounds around getting in there.
You mean like an open window?
That and there's certain keys that HUD uses that you can get the key codes to, and if you send it to an agent, you can get them in there. They don't want to hear that, but there are key codes so you can get access. But yet a lot of times there's doors open, windows open, and it's by any means possible. Or if they can't get inside, can you get pictures of the inside from the window type deal, especially if it's a rancher? So that way you have some kind of a gauge, because otherwise it's kind of like a crapshoot. What are you going to get when you buy the place and open a door?
Yeah, I was always wondered about that, man. The ones that you can't walk in, are you just like completely like, hey, listen, we're just going to fix everything on the inside?
Assume it needs a full scale. So when you're buying those, just assume it needs everything, and then bring your numbers to make it accordingly to that.
Gotcha. And so why did you ever go belly to belly, or were you always virtual right off the bat?
So no, I went direct to seller, and I was in my market for, about a decade, about maybe a little under a decade, about 7-8 years before I started going virtual. Mm-hmm. And I always did my background too, my backyard, I should say. Yeah. I always still did that as well. I didn't want to ignore it, but there's just certain markets I wanted to learn about and find out about. Like I found out a ton about Tucson, Arizona, and had a great agent there. Casper, Wyoming, Gillette, Wyoming, a little town called Moorcroft, Wyoming. Wyoming is 581,000 population, so it's not real big, but it is a good market to invest in if you have the right people, right boots on the ground there. But there's certain places I always want to visit. Charleston, South Carolina, right? So if I could find places down there, there's an excuse. If I wanted to go look at the property, I could. I got it. It's funny, I never did. The only one I ever went to see was in Wyoming, Casper, Wyoming.
Oh, nice, man. So is it, the area, I'm sure now it's probably different, but at the beginning it sounded like it was really determined on your agent relationship. That was a market that you really looked into.
Correct. It was more agent related and deal related. So if I found something that was just so cheap when I looked on Zillow and Zillow sold, that the property I was buying was way cheaper than anything else ever sold over the past 12, 24, 36 months, I knew I was good, right? I knew I should be good with that property, even if it's a train wreck. So part of it was that, and part of it was the agents. Because back in 2009 and 13, these banks were dumping properties. They just wanted to get them off their books as quick as possible because they had such a backlog of them. So I was finding great deals during that time period. Now it's a little tougher.
Do you think it's going to, I feel as if you're probably going to go full circle. I feel as if it's probably going to be a really great time for what you do within the next year or two.
I agree. The foreclosures are going up. I think it's 20% up month over month. So I always look at that data to see what's going on. And, as the economy turns, generally as you go into recession, you're going to have more and more foreclosures. Just naturally comes with it. So yeah, it's going to come full circle. Not necessarily ever to that financial crisis again, because I don't think we'll ever get there real estate wise. just because there's not enough inventory right now, and there's still an appetite for it, and rates are lower now than they were during the financial crisis 2008. So
Yeah, isn't that crazy? We're freaking out over the rates, right? I mean, in our market, it's in Austin is my primary market. Houses in, the $1 million range are still flying off. Anything lower than that, those rates really affect them quite a bit. And those seem to sit quite a bit more. Are you finding that in other markets as well?
oh yeah, absolutely. So here in Florida, and I rarely dabble into those higher end markets.
Mm-hmm.
I did pick up a higher end condo near Sarasota, and I'm sitting on it. Sitting right here for a while. That has other issues with it too. So yeah, you'll get that. I'm finding that in a couple of different markets.
Hold on. So you have a higher end one that you're sitting on, or a lower one? Okay.
Higher end one. So this one was, it's valued. It's listed at 775 right now. It's not over $1 million. It's a condo though, right?
Yeah.
It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bath condo.
Well, not a good price, man.
Yeah, that year ago would have sold for maybe 820 when the rates were good. When the rates were really low. Of course, the rates have affected this one in particular. And also as an HOA, this was a learning lesson for me. This one, my gut told me not to buy it. It was
hate those, man.
And Mike, my partner, was pushing me to like, this looks good. The numbers look good. I'm like, my gut's just telling me no. But all right, we'll listen to the realtor. We should have gotten a better realtor. A better realtor would have given us better information that knew that particular community better.
Yeah,
and would have told us no. But it has a $45,000 mandatory HOA buy-in. That's a social membership. The golf membership is $75,000. So obviously I wasn't doing a golf membership. It's an hour and a half away from me. It's too far for me to go to.
Yeah.
But it's not transferable. So I can't transfer this next buyer. They have to pay the same darn thing. And when I sell it, I lost it. That's just $45,000 right down the tube. So right there, think about that's a big chunk of change for a rehab gone right out the window just for a social membership. It's one of the reasons my gut was telling me no. And I should have listened. It's going to end up being an 80 to 90K loss for me.
Ouch. That sucks, bro. I mean, but you've done a lot of deals, so it's impossible to do a lot of deals and not lose on some of them. It still doesn't blunt the sting at all.
It doesn't. Occasionally I'll lose $500 to $5,000, and that's not much. That's a drop in luck as far as I'm concerned. You get to these bigger ones like this 90. Look, I have never experienced that kind of a loss before, but it's a learning lesson. I'll never buy that type of property again. And next time, I just always listen to my guts. Now, when things come up, I'm like, I don't know about this. I just avoid it. Nope, won't do it.
Dude, that is so powerful, man, because sometimes, I remember when I was just dying for a deal, and every time you're in that, that thirsty spot, and you get something that's on the fringe, and that it's on the fringe, and typically I would just like back off, Every time I went forward, it stung me every single time.
Yeah. Trust your gut. Your gut knows better than your brain, right? Your brain will try to, your monkey mind will try to outdo it and say, this is a good one, but it's not. Your gut knows better. The gut in your stomach knows better than this up here.
Yeah, that's so true, man. I mean, so let me ask you this, because we're going through this process right now. How do you vet the realtors? You're a process guy way more than I am, right? What is your process and finding the right person?
So definitely want an experienced one who's been in the market for at least a decade, right? Because there's so many fly-by nights that just here today, gone tomorrow. So when we target agents, say this property has no agents, so we'll target somebody in a small mom pop brokerage that's been there for a while that really knows that market. So we don't go after a Keller Williams, we don't go after a Coldwell Banker or a Century 21 agent. We're after a small one, that really knows the market, knows a particular community, and we really rely heavily on them. And that one that burnt me in that Sarasota area, little town called Osprey, that's one where we did not do that, and that changed everything for forever. Now I just switched everything, right? You learn and you apply new results here. All right, now this is something else we do. And now we get info from a realtor. Let's contact another agent and see if they verify what the other realtor said. Because if we're getting two different disparaging numbers, and one's here, one's there, why are we getting that? What's the data giving that information difference there? And which one do we go with? Because to me, I'm always going to go on the one that's lower.
I do too. I always go with the one that's lower, because their job is to trouble. That's their mentality, right? And so if somebody's giving me a lower price, I already think that they're a little bit more credible. So
yes.
It sounds the same to you.
Totally.
And it also sounds like, because I know you do a lot of air tabs, right?
Yes.
All right. So it sounds as if you do a lot of, I know you do a lot of virtual rehabs, which is unbelievably difficult because I've done it as well. Walk me through that process and how you manage something, because some people can't even do it in their own market, much less do it in a different state.
It is really hard, and we recommend doing more of the wholesale type rehab, the lipstick ones where you don't need to put a whole lot into it. But we rely heavily on the agents for that, because whenever I found a contractor on my own, it hasn't always gone well. When I've used a realtor's contacts for contractors, for plumbers, for electricians, for surveyors, I've, knock on wood, never had a bad experience yet. They've always taken care of us. They've been quicker. They've been more affordable than the people I found. So we've really relied heavily on them, which is good for a couple of different things. One, that contractor will not bite the hand that feeds them, right? That realtor's one is feeding them free leads. Two, the realtor stays on them because they referred them to us, so they don't want to look bad, and they can keep up on everything. They almost manage rehabs for us 100% for just the listing price. So
Really?
double benefit there for us. Yep.
Do you give them a higher commission, or you just give them the straight?
Yeah, a lot of times I'll give them 5 or 6. But what happens is, if we can, we'll give them a commission on the buy side.
Okay.
Getting it, and then on the sell side, repeat it again, right? So they can get a 3% up front and then get another 5% on the back end there.
Okay.
And if we don't have an agent, we don't feel like we need one, that we know we'll flat fee list it on the MLS too.
Got it. So are they going and walking the draws and stuff like that as well?
They do.
For you?
So they'll go there, make sure everything was done, verified it. And like if I use Kiavi, they'll send a draw people out there, because I don't want to waste them coming out there, because it costs you every single time you go out for the draw.
It does.
We do send them out just to verify, hey, the roof's done, siding's done, windows are done. Yeah, was HVAC done? Is it, because we've had times where it's not, they say the hot water heater's done, but it's not even hooked up. It's just there.
Yeah. I've had that too.
Yeah. We all have in this business.
Yeah. AC, all that stuff.
Yes.
Right? So yeah, absolutely, man. That's so awesome, man. So, I mean, what is one of the biggest things about this is and I think you've already shared it, is just getting real and things are going on in your life or your business. It doesn't even have to be real estate specific, but what are some of the biggest, I don't know if the loss is the right word, but something that's impacting you and you learn a big lesson from it?
Oh, besides this 80 to 90K loss.
Dude, that's a huge one, man. Has that kept you up at night? Because I've had some 6 figures loss and it kept me up.
Oh, they keep me up. It's been tough sleeping, and something that's impacting me right now is because I went all in on this spring, figuring this spring would be a good market like it is, right? It's a good spring market to sell right now. So I put so much cash and money out there. I have more properties I've ever had in my life. So I'm the most cash poor that I've ever been in this business. That's keeping me up at night right now, I'll tell you that. Even though we got a bunch of them pending to sell, and we just sold one yesterday at Fort Worth, Texas. We got a bunch more pending this month and then in June. It's just those last 15, say, that I have out there that keep me up, right? They're continuing to keep me up. So yeah, it's that stress, man. It's a good thing because it keeps you driven, it keeps you focused to get these things done. But man, it sucks too. as you can attest to.
We have all been there. I mean, I remember one time we had 10 7-figure flips going on at one time. And I got to tell you, that was one of the worst times of my life. You know what I mean? I was so stressed out and up at night. And, and I remember I had a pep talk from my wife of, all people. She's like, you need to suck it up. And, and it's like, people have dealt with bigger problems than this. You can deal with it. Get your butt back out there and fix it, right? And also, you need that every once in a while. But I guess my point is, if you doing volume, and because people always talk about you could buy houses and fix for a little bit of money. Man, it's a very cash intensive business. It is. It's an unbelievable, especially if you're closing and you're flipping, right? Yep. Unbelievably cash intensive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cash intensive. And for example, a lot of these profits, I just got a $42,000 profit on a property I picked up in Columbus, Ohio for $49,000. Picked up for $49,000, listed for $85,000. Has 6 people in their bidding war, 2 escalation clauses, sold it for $104,000. Profit came in and went right back out to another property because I got renovations going on another property. So I'm not even seeing any of that profit. So that's kind of what goes on. And you just kind of have to manage that and figure that out and know that when you have a bunch of loans out there with Lima One Capital with Kiabi, Dominion Financial, all these asset-based lenders out there, that this much is coming out per month, the first of the month. Then you got your insurance costs, and you got your utility costs, and then you're still paying the contractors, and then those draws are coming in. It's fun trying to manage that. Man, it's stressful.
It's not fun.
It's stressful. It's stressful manage that. It's something that maybe down the road, what I want to do is hand that off to somebody else totally to manage and run that for me, because I don't like that side of it there. And then I can go focus on driving, getting more private money, because private money is my best. Yeah. I'll pay anywhere from 7 to 12% interest on it, but I don't make monthly payments. I pay it when it's done, right? When I'm done with the property. And that's so much less stressful. So much less stressful, for sure. Yeah.
I primarily do that. We have lines of credit as well. I'm sure you do as well. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's just, it's like I said, it's cash intensive. It's definitely stressful. Let me ask you this, man, because you do this at a high level, but at a minimal staff, because your marketing, you don't have a marketing budget as much, right? You're just going, straight to the auction and stuff like that. I mean, what does that look like in your business, and how do you navigate? Like, you know what I mean? It's ideal to me because I have a pretty decent sized staff, and it's always an issue,
No, that is an issue. I have 2 parts now. I think I might've told you this. I added down here, Southwest Florida, television advertising with Tony Javier.
Oh, wow.
That's $7,300 a month that goes right out the window. That hurts. I don't like that. That hurts. And then I have a new sales guy that's down here, and he's commission based, but he does have a draw, and he does for the first 6 months, because this is newer doing this. He has a certain amount of base salary that he gets right now. That's one business, and that's more stressful, even though we're not doing a ton of volume with that one compared to the auction business. The auction business, it's me. I have Mike who works with me, and then I have 2 acquisition managers. Well, 3. We just got rid of one of them partly because of that Osprey property. We just got rid of the one. So we're down to 2. Really, there's one that I like. The other guy's new, and he's just kind of starting and getting in there. We'll see how he goes. If not, the one is a rock star, so I'm good with just utilizing him and me filling in where need be. So we have we have a couple of VAs. We have a couple of different VAs we use, and it looks like I'll be hiring another one coming up here right now, just strictly for social media management for me, video editing and things like that. Just so I could focus on other stuff. But yeah, we keep it small, we keep it lean, and I love it that way. I don't like having a big team. That's another stressful thing, right? Because as things turn, you got to then start thinking about who do you lay off, you have to get rid of, because you got to get lean and mean during those times. And I did direct mail up until 2013 locally in that market in Pennsylvania. It was small, right? We only spent $2 to $3 grand a month advertising. That was not a whole lot. And we pick up a few deals here and there. And that was manageable, but we had to have an acquisition manager who would go out there and do it, a disposition manager. And that was stressful for me. And I cut it off in 2013. I got plenty of inventory with the auctions, and I just went full bore with it then. The only reason I did this here, the TV advertising in Southwest Florida, was just one, I wanted to learn this market, and I wanted to pick up some rentals, maybe some Airbnb type of properties that it can hold longer term.
Yeah, I think you partnered with somebody on that as well, right?
I did. Yep, Brett McCollum, from Family Mastermind. Yeah, and that's a big part of it. He takes some of the burden off of me, and he handles the sales guy, which makes it a lot easier.
Gotcha. That's awesome, man. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, every time something happens, you have to lay off. It's such a stressful thing for me. It's not. I've always had that problem, man. I'll keep people that I know that are really good way too long, because I have a hard time letting somebody go that is a performer or hasn't really done anything. The non-performers, I have no problem. They're gone. They're gone pretty quickly, but it's still somebody's life, that you're dealing with. So it is what it is,
That is stressful. One more thing I wanted to put, one thing I really love about the auctions, I could turn them on in office I want. Unlike marketing, right? If you have that marketing, let's say you're the person taking all those calls. If you go on vacation, you're taking calls on vacation, right? I don't want any part of that. For me, if I'm going on a 2-week vacation, I turn the auctions off. I don't do anything. I come back, I turn it back on, and start bidding again. It's as simple as that. It's one of those things. It's a lifestyle business with that. And if somebody wants to do it part-time and still work a full-time job, it's easy to do.
That's so awesome, brother. I mean, so how do you walk me through a little bit of that as far as how do you identify the markets you want to get into, or, I mean, how does it, what is a property that you're like, hey, listen, I want to highlight that. That's something that I'm interested in on a high level. You don't have to get in the weeds on it.
Yeah. So for me right now, and I'm constantly changing this, right? But really the markets I'm focusing on now are the markets where people are moving to. Your Florida, your Texas, your South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Wyoming, Indiana, Ohio are still great markets, believe it or not. And I still focus on PA just because I know it so well. And even a part of New Jersey, but I just haven't done many deals there. Not much inventory in those markets right now. So I'll focus on those markets, hit them, and then just look for the low lying fruit. It's really that easy. So, all right, here's something I'm familiar with this area. Houses normally sell for this. Their starting bid is here. All right, this is something that maybe I can work with. And we have a VA that goes in and scrubs these lists. Like the auction company will send the Excel file to me. They'll have what they have their values at, and we'll have our VA come with ours. It comes back to me. I look at it. I filter and decide what I'm going to bid on, or my acquisition manager, what he's going to bid on.
So the acquisition guy's sitting there monitoring the bidding, and then obviously you have a threshold you don't want to exceed, or whatever the case is, right? And he's going through that process for you.
He is, yeah. So we got the maximum allowable offer, and he comes up with it, or he bids up to it. I always try to tell him, always be below that MAO if you can.
Of course.
We usually are. And the question is, will they accept it, right? Because the banks have gotten a little bit greedy, but they're starting to loosen up a little bit with knowing that the market's changing right now.
Yeah.
So, but they've gotten greedy with this market. They can get high numbers out there. Now it's shifting, and now they're realizing, okay, we gotta pivot. Because last fall they were getting killed. They didn't have anything moving. So
even the banks have a perception gap, huh?
They do. They have a perception gap, just like sellers do. Same type of thing.
So you're seeing that turn a little bit?
Oh yeah, that's definitely turned, because we picked up record inventory, I would say, from November, really early December, until now, this past month here. We had a ridiculous amount of inventory. It was perfect. A lot of these properties were ones that were like, all right, we're going to come into the spring market. They don't all need a ton. Just need some basic stuff. Get them on there, get them on the market, move them while we can, because, it's a cyclical market. When you get to August, people kind of forget about real estate. The values come down. You're not going to get the same number for your rehab in August that you're going to get in May or in April or in June.
Interesting. So, I mean, I know you keep a pulse on things probably better than most people. What do you think? And I know you don't have, and nobody has a crystal ball, but what's your prediction this next, 12, 24 months?
Interesting times for sure. And CoreLogic actually came up with this one. Intrigued me. So it kind of went in line with what I feel will be flat, maybe up in certain markets, down in certain markets, but that's not saying a whole lot, right? CoreLogic saw the market go up in February, 0.08%, almost full percent. They called the market bottom and said real estate will go up between 3.7 and 4.6 between February 23 and February 24. That one caught my attention. They're like, they don't just throw that stuff out there, that they're pretty confident in that. And when you look at the inventory numbers, I follow Altos Research. I'm following that inventory all the time. It barely is budging up over the last 2 weeks. So if you look at all the numbers, the data tells you it's going to be solid. Real estate's going to stay flat to maybe up a little bit. In certain markets where people are fleeing, it's going to be down because there's more inventory, right? There's a higher level of inventory right now in California. Certain markets, California, especially Silicon Valley. Actually getting into that Silicon Valley markets, these tech markets are the ones that are being hit the most. Even your market, right, got hit pretty good and has higher inventory. Right. So these markets are getting hit more than others, but I'm seeing it probably up 2-3% this year would be my guess. 2024, I have more concerns about. 2025, I'm way more bearish. It's all rate driven though, right? Rates are going to be the biggest driver because rates determine what people can afford. And if rates go up, market's going to come down. If rates stay flat, it'll be fine. If rates drop down a little bit, you might even get a little spur and a little bit of boost in the market. But I kind of expect them to be flat here over the next year. 2024 later worries me. Actually, even later this year worries me a little bit. I'm really watching the unemployment data. It's starting to creep up in different markets. And it's something we got to really pay attention to because real estate's a really lagging indicator. if unemployment goes up big time in June, we're not going to see it till January of next year in real estate. By the time you go under contract, close, all these things, it's a very lagging indicator.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what we're seeing right now is because I could just on Skillforce, we could monitor people's marketing and stuff like that, and it dropped off drastically last Q3, but now it's starting to pick up quite a bit. And talking to my clients, it seems like inventory, everything's starting to pick up a little bit more than it did in Q3, Q4. You guys are seeing the same thing?
For sure. Yeah, we're definitely seeing more and more inventory out there, especially on the REO side in different markets. We're definitely seeing that pop up a little bit. However, there's certain markets that inventory is still pretty flat or declined a little bit. Even where I used to live in the suburbs of Philadelphia, for example, this little town next to where I live called Ambler used to have 400 plus properties on the market at all times. There's currently four properties on the market. So when you have constricted inventory like that, you're not going to have price drops in that market. But most places like Illinois is getting hit right now pretty good. I expect Vegas is going to get hammered as soon as unemployment goes up, because that's always driven by unemployment jobs. What's that?
I said Vegas always gets hammered. They got hammered in 08. You know what I mean?
That's going to be one of the first ones. The big ones that get hit are your cyclical markets, your San Diegos, your LAs, your Phoenix, your Miamis, your Las Vegas. Those are the markets that'll get hit because they go up real high when the market's great, and they drop down when the market cools off a bit. So there's linear markets, the Midwest, that are so consistent. I love them too, and they're great for buy and holds. The Carolinas, really like them a lot too. Georgia to an extent, outside of Atlanta. Atlanta got real hot. So, but no, different markets, it's shifting, and people are still looking more rural. They're still buying more in the suburbs, and they're still getting away from the cities. And the question is, how long will it take for people to shift back from the suburbs to the cities, or will that happen?
It's a great question. I mean, so, I've never went through a turn. I mean, I've only been in real estate for, 9-10 years or something like that. I wasn't here during 08. For somebody like you that's gone through several, obviously with a big one, what would be your biggest advice to investors, especially new ones right now?
This is super important. So scale back. We teach our students scale back right now. So if you're looking at properties, making offers and using 75% of after repair value minus repairs, minus your wholesale fee, we had them go to 70 about 6 months ago. And now I'm getting them back to where I like to be, 65%. Go to 65% minus your repairs, and even bump your repairs up if you're uncomfortable, and use those numbers. So we're really scaling back, prepping and hoping that the market doesn't turn too bad, but we want a 10% correction allowance, and going 75 to 65 allows for that, right? You should be fairly well protected if you're in that 10% threshold.
All right, that's great advice, man. Heck, I might be one of your students here soon. I've been kind of inquired about it. I mean, you're a person that I obviously I like, but I trust, right? And I know that if you're going to put your name on something, it's going to be super, super high quality. So, man, where can they find you, brother?
So if they're interested in the educational program, reoauctionacademy.com. And if they're just interested, want to pop in on a couple coaching calls, they can do fliprealestatevirtually.com, and that's $97 a month. They can get on our 1 or 2 monthly coaching calls we have, kind of figure out what we're about, and decide if they want to go ahead and join the academy. Totally up to them on that. We have a do-it-yourself program for $497, but I don't really recommend that unless you are an experienced investor that already knows real estate. If you're new into real estate, to do that, do-it-yourself one's a little tougher. Yeah. Want to get in where you get all the videos we have where we break down everything, for sure.
Awesome, man. All right, well, I'll put the links on everything down below. And Paul, man, I really appreciate it. Hey, that's a wrap, guys, and we will see you guys next week. So that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you received value from this episode. If so, please share this podcast with your friends so we can help more people just like you. Also, hook up with us on Facebook, IG, and YouTube at Reil Talks. That's REIL Talks. So until next time, keep it cool and keep it real.